Hello, good evening, Gary Edward Gettle, psychologist, psychotherapist. I am here on my terrace in Lausanne, Switzerland. Today is the 18th, I think. Yes, the Wednesday, the 18th of June. And we're on the last couple of weeks of the 70-day health and fitness challenge. If you're doing that, we're here to support you on that. And tonight I want to talk about the sad law of compensation. It's one of my themes. It's been created by a wonderful therapist named Gary Edward. That's me. I'm sure other people have thought of it before, but I sort of like put it together as a sort of a concept, and I find it useful. So just a few words about how my day has been. As it's Wednesday, I've not seen a lot of patients. I went to the dentist and had a filling and had some other stuff done, just so you know the wonders of my life. And I spent most of the day working on my terrace because there's a birthday on Saturday, and I'm going to invite some parents of the children to come and sort of like hang around on the terrace and sort of watch the children from distance, which is more comfortable in a birthday. That's the idea. So it's one of the those of you that have sort of followed my story over the last days. Saturday I was not doing very well. I was sort of going towards a burnout, and then I realized better to bend than to break, which is to say is to release things that I planned to do and I'd chosen to do and I wished to do, and focus just on the things that are the most important. And just for just to repeat so that people know, my family is sort of taken care by other people that look after them a lot, and so I don't look after them an awful lot, but they're there in my thoughts. But other than that, the highest priority in general for me are my patients that need to be looked after and need to be present for them emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually. So that's my first priority. My second priority is the clinic, because I am responsible for half of the clinic. I look after 4 psychologists, and that can be quite a heavily charged, both administrative and organizational. So that's important to me. And other than that, the third thing that's become very, very important is to organize my part of this birthday party. And that's taking an awful lot of time and energy. And because of that, I have decided to release a lot of the energy for the 70-day challenge, dieting and fitness. So I've stopped doing the ordinary gym, and because it's the end of my series with the special fitness with the electrodes and the electrostimulation. I'm doing that twice a week, which is basically compensating for not going to the gym most nights. But sometimes you can't do everything, and you need to be able to let things go. And if you don't let things go in an intelligent way, you end up burning out or doing things badly, and nothing works. So anyway, today coming home, there was a guy cleaning the outside of one of the buildings close to where I live, and I had a chat with him. And for some reason, and I have no idea exactly how the conversation got to that, and well, I don't even know what I was talking about in the first place. But anyway, we just got talking, and I started to talk about Gary's law of compensation. They said, well, what does that mean? What's it about? And I sort of saying that when you do things to compensate, to try and fill some negative feeling or run away from some negative feeling that you have, it tends to get worse. And I came up with this most wonderful image, and I'm so pleased with it. I've used it for the thumbnail here. And I said, well, imagine that you have a hole, and you want to fill that hole, so you get some blocks and you fill this hole with these blocks because you think that's going to make you feel better because you filled in your hole. And then what you don't realize that the blocks that you're using are made out of ice. And as the ice melts in the sun, not only is the hole still there, but as the ice melts, it actually takes some of the earth away with it. as it goes down. So doing that actually makes the hole bigger. So in the short term, the hole is full, it's filled in with these blocks, which is great. You can walk across it and do stuff with it. But almost immediately afterwards, it starts to melt and you've got a bigger hole. And that is one way of looking at, as I say, the law of compensation. If you have a behavior that comes after a feeling, say, you feel something, you feel bad in some way, whatever way you feel bad, and it's something that is regular. It's not something that happens once or twice. That's not the problem. We all have difficulties. We all have moments we feel bad. You have this classic breakup scene that you often see in television or in movies, where the girl feels really bad because the boyfriend has dumped her or starts sleeping with someone else. Anyway, she feels really bad. And then she usually gets a few friends to come over, and then she minges and she complains, and they drink wine and eat tubs of ice cream and all these sort of things. Now, that is healthy. That is healthy because there is a situation that has come from the outside, maybe that's woken on the inside feelings of insecurity, not being good enough, not being pretty enough, or whatever. And then there is a compensation for that. But generally, the way it's shown anyway, and if someone they're grieving their loss of this relationship, they're going through a grief process, and the friends and the alcohol and the ice cream, well, these are ways to cope with that grieving moment, but it's short term. It's not something that repeats itself regularly. What I'm talking about is behaviors that repeat themselves, and they will more than likely repeat themselves over years and years and years, because we have problems within ourselves, and these problems are usually based in childhood trauma, poor parenting, other situations that have arisen, and because of some problem within ourselves, we want to find a way to move away from that pain and suffering. And when we have a form of pain and suffering, A, that leads us on to a type of behavior, B, that makes us feel better in the moment, C, but quite soon afterwards we start to feel worse and worse and worse, D, that's compensatory behavior, because the it's always the same. It's always the same formula, the same system. A, B, C, D. I feel bad. I do that. Whatever that is, it's the same thing, more or less. C, I feel better in the moment. Great. D, I feel worse, maybe even from when I started. D. There, you're in a system of compensation, which is going to make you feel worse and worse as you keep doing it. Now, I had a patient that would feel poor, that would not feel good enough, and she would feel poor. And what would she do? She'd go shopping. She'd go shopping because, especially in Switzerland, the shop assistants treat you incredibly well, with lots of respect. Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. What can I do to help you? What sort of thing are you after? Let me show you this. Would you like to try on that? Treat you with a lot of respect and a lot of care, and you feel good because you've been well looked at, and you feel you're somebody in that moment because of the way they're treating you. And then they show you stuff and you try it on and you think, oh, I look good in this. This looks nice. Yes, it's a bit expensive, but I'm worth it. I'm somebody that's worth. And then you buy it and go home and you take the bag and you put it in your wardrobe. Unfortunately, it's like this. And they don't wear it, or they might wear it, but the moment of having been in the shop and having bought it and feeling good about themselves and walking back with this shopping bag and having a person like that, by the time they get home, usually it's worn off. It's not there anymore. And they think, oh shit, how much have I spent on this, which I didn't need, And now I'm going to have problems finishing the month. I'm going to have to borrow money or try and organize the payment of this, that, or the other. And it's like all this good feeling has evaporated because it wasn't real. It was real in the moment, but it wasn't something that changed something in you. It was something that just covered up this thing of not being good enough. I have an obese patient, and I'm not making positions about being overweight, not being overweight, fat shaming, not fat shaming. That's if someone has a weight that's quite heavy and they're happy with themselves and they feel that that's just the way they are and that's just life, and they feel. I mean, I remember my parents. They went to, I think, Atlanta in the States, and they came back, and they were quite impressed with some of the people that were there. And I remember I don't know which one of my parents told me, or maybe both of them, that they were in an office. I don't remember what the office was. I think some sort of town publicity or something like that, tourist thing. And there were three women worked there, and my parents said they were huge. They were like boats, like cruisers. And they were beautifully made up, and the hair was beautiful, and the clothes were beautiful, and they seemed to be happy. So, okay, one can be obese, and obese is technical. It's not. It's not a slight. It's not an attack. It's a medical term. They can be obese and can be happy. But what I'm saying is that I've had patients that are obese and are terribly unhappy about their weight. They're unhappy about it. They feel obviously heavy. They're very tired. They can't move very well. They have problems buying clothes, and they feel weird. They feel everybody's looking at them as they're walking out, and often they feel ugly. And what do they do to compensate, to make themselves feel better? They eat. They eat to fill in that hole of not being loved, not being cared for, not being good enough, and they get bigger. And then they feel worse because they're getting bigger. Now, I'm talking about very specific cases that I know because I've followed them. And the only answer is that when they start to feel bad, is to do something active, to go for a walk, even if they're only managing a 5-minute walk because of their shape. Go for a walk, have some water, have something that's not going to put weight on, and actively start saying, I feel bad, and if I could be more active and I could lose weight, I would feel less bad. And I'll come to this idea of dealing with frustration and dealing long term with these feelings of unwellness and of sadness. People feel depressed. They feel depressed. They go and have a drink. Have a drink, you'll feel better. So they have a drink and they feel better. It's true. They start to laugh, they start to joke, they start blah, 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 and they go that. And then they carry on drinking. And then this joy, this euphoria starts to wear off. And then they become the sad drunk. And they start to literally cry in their beer or whatever image you want. And they feel bad. And they feel worse. And then they go home and they're alone because they're not fun to be with, because they're depressed and because they're unpleasantly drunk. And they go home, and then the next morning they've got a headache, they've got a dry mouth, they've got a hangover. They feel worse. They feel more depressed than they were. Obviously, it's logical. So these things that we do to compensate people that don't feel they have don't have enough money, so they gamble, and something incredible is going to happen. Money is going to move around in an incredibly magical way. Yes, it does, out of your pocket. Very, very few people earn any money or gain money from gambling. Like, the truth of the matter is, I only know of one person that I've heard stories about that I believe that actually ever gained money gambling. And strangely enough, that was my father. And my father, it seems, he would take his wages, he'd play cards, he'd usually double his wages. And as soon as he got enough, he would leave the table with his winnings, and he would have more money. My mother tells me this story, so I actually believe her because she got no reason to say anything otherwise. He was good at that. I never gambled with him, so it's okay. But generally, yeah, you can have the excitement of gambling and the dream that you're going to win lots of money. It's going to be great, but it it rarely happens, and of course, you'll end up with less money, so you feel even worse. And everything that is in that way, you have people that are anxious. They're anxious, and because their life is not going forward, they feel anxious because they feel they're in a rut. It's every day is the same and it's not improving, it's not getting any better. And that they're so anxious that the only way they can stop being anxious is to have a couple of joints or to have some gummies, or there, that relieves the anguish. And they feel better and they feel relaxed, and then they just carry on like that. And then it wears off and they realize that they're in exactly the same situation they were in a day ago, a week ago, a month ago. I remember I went with my sister one Christmas. We went to see some of her friends. We both happened just to be at home at that time. We were quite old. And I had a car and she didn't, I don't know if she drives at all. And she said, will I drive her to see these old friends of hers? She's not seen them for a few years. And I said, sure. And she said, don't panic. They smoke joints. It's like I was always the good boy. She was panicking. She thought that if I saw someone with a joint, I would like freak out. Still worry. I've smoked a joint once or twice in my life. And she went, oh, my big brother, my good brother, he smoked a joint. Anyway, so we went to see these people. And they were very laid back and very comfortable, and they smoked lots of joints, and they were very friendly. And when we came out, she said, these people make me sick. I said, why? They're nice people. What would make you sick? She says, they talk about the same projects that they want to do in the future. I said, well, there's great projects that they want to do. Whatever. I think a health food restaurant or something like that. She says, but they've been talking about that for 10 years. And the fact that they smoke so much, they don't do anything. So again, they're anxious because they have projects. They don't know how to get their project started. They're scared to start it. So they talk about it, smoke a few joints. They stop being anxious, but nothing goes forward. So if you are on this ABCD, I feel bad. I do something to make myself feel better. I feel better in the moment. I feel worse. If you are in that situation, you need to accept the fact that you are in a compensatory cycle and things will not get better. They'll actually only get worse. So realize that the only way you're going to break that cycle is to deal with frustration, is to frustrate yourself from doing what's giving you benefit in the very, very short term and say, what can I do to improve the quality of my life long term? As children, we're supposed to learn to deal with frustration. We're supposed to understand that I want some sweets, you get the sweets later. I want an ice cream, you can have an ice cream after you've finished your meal. I don't want to do homework. I don't want to go to school. Well, you do, because if you don't go homework, you don't go to school, you're not going to finish your schooling. I want to go to work and earn money straight away. Well, some people it's the right thing to do, but most people, if you can go to study a bit longer and frustrate yourself from earning straight away, the chances are that when you do get to start earning money, you'll earn more money than before, etc., etc. To deal with frustration, to cope and say, I want something, but I can't have it now. I came to Switzerland, I was 38 years old. And I could have got myself a little job. I could have done something. But my future wife and I decided I'd go back to study. And very fortunately, the generosity of a family helped me survive for those years. And what happened? What happened was that I spent 4 years doing something that's called a licence, which is a bachelor's plus. And then I did a work experience while I was doing my master's. And so that was 5 years. And then there was another 5 years before I became a psychotherapist. There's an awful lot of extra hours and courses and supervisions and personal work to get the title of psychotherapist. So altogether, it took 10 years. And it was 10 years of frustration because I didn't have my title yet. And now, as a psychotherapist, with the new law that came in 2023, I can bill directly to the health insurance. And for good or for bad, I can take on 4 psychotherapists. Well, I could take on 300% of psychotherapists in training. And because they work part-time, there's actually 4. Um, Thanks to the fact that I have this title. So to deal with frustration is really important. If you find yourself repeating this A, B, C, D, I feel bad, I do something, I feel better, I feel worse, then you need to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I am in a repetitive system that can only make me fall down, that can only make me be worse. I need to stop this. I need to accept the fact that I am suffering. I'm suffering for something that is part of me, part of my education, part of the way I was raised, part of my experience of life, especially as a child and as a young person. And these things have created in me suffering. And these sufferings, if I don't deal with those problems, then anything else I do to compensate will continue on this compensatory cycle. And it will never heal itself. It will never get any better. It can only get worse. It can only get worse because every time you compensate for something in a fashion that makes you feel better in the moment and much worse later on, somewhere it deepens the hole. Somewhere it makes it worse. Somewhere you feel less and less capable to get out of this horrible spiral that you're in. The only way to do that is to say, there's something in me that is feeling bad. And there's something that's feeling bad that's making me feel empty, that's making me feel lonely, that's making me, that reinforces my poor self-esteem and my poor self-image, or my feeling of helplessness, or my anguish. And to say, okay, that's what I'm feeling. Now, what can I do in my life that would change something enough that I stop feeling that? It's not rocket science. It's not so complicated that you need some super genius specialist like me uh, to help you, to support you, to give you the answers. No, the answer, at least the first steps, at least the first reflections, that what is it within me that is dysfunctional? What is making me feel bad? And what sort of badness? Because once you actually can name the emotional, mental weakness or pain or suffering that you are experiencing, once you can put a name to that, then you can say, okay, that I'm feeling anguished. Okay, my feeling of anguish is not being good enough, not succeeding, being criticized, being told off, being considered to be not good enough. Well, okay, that is something that repeats itself. Where in my life, where can I look and see where that has come from? That's the first step. And then see, well, I had a parents that said, you are intelligent, you should succeed, I expect you only to do the best. And if you don't get 10 out of 10, 6 out of 6, 100 out of 100, I don't know what sort of system you had in your childhood, then you've not made enough effort and we're disappointed in you, etc., etc. I have so many patients that are anguished, that are perfectionists, and they are so troubled about not being perfect because it's like it's the worst thing in the world for them. And yeah, it's their environment in their childhood. People that are depressed, and sometimes depression is an inner conflict. They want one thing and they want the other, and they can't have both, and they don't know what to do, and so they just feel depressed. Or people that have chronic or repeated depressions, you can see that it goes back to the childhood. It goes back to an unhappy environment in their youth, and again, it's say, well, look, I've been sort of vaguely depressed most of my life, and I've had people that have been depressed. I had a patient that was depressed for 10 years. And when I looked at his situation, I actually helped him find out that what was depressing him was actually a conflict with his parents. And he said, well, my parents don't have a conflict. And I said, well, look at this and look at this and look at the situation. And I thought, he went, ooh, I never saw it that way. And the fact that he could see what the root was, what was the dynamic in his family that he could not see and no one would admit, but was an incredibly negative situation. And his mother was really, really depressed, but she refused to see it. She refused to admit to it, and she refused to accept the fact that the reason why that she was depressed is because she lost her job, and she lost the job because the husband went up the hierarchy, and for some reason she was supposed to get a higher position, and for some reason that was maybe chauvinistic or whatever, he got the position she was supposed to have, and she was better qualified than him, and she had more work experience than him. And eventually she just gave up. And she said, okay, I'm going to retire from work. That was the job I wanted, but you've got it, and I'm very happy for you. And I will support you. I'm your wife and mother of your children. And I'll just focus more on being at home and my paintings. And she carried on doing her hobby, which was a painting, which sort of took more and more space. And then she kept telling people how happy she was doing her painting, but there was something that was wrong in that couple. And when you actually start to look at the details, she could see, my patient, what it was. It was a guy. Uh, what was wrong with him was the fact is that he was a couple conflict of his parents that nobody admitted, nobody accepted. And once we got to that, then his compensatory behaviors started to disappear because he didn't need to compensate because he'd actually accepted what was wrong. And so if you have a recurring problem, then try and see what you can do medium long term to improve your quality of life and to move away. If you're obese, then the only way you're going to feel better is by accepting the fact that there was something wrong in your childhood that you're trying to cope with. And maybe you're very angry and you don't want to express your anger, or you're very sad and you don't want to express your sadness, and you just eat it down. And once you do that, then maybe that compensatory behavior can move away. I have to be vague because there's so many different types of problems that we can have, that we have this type of behavior. But it's the concept is so simple. A, B, C, D. I feel bad. I do something to feel better. I feel better in the moment. I feel worse afterwards. You're in that cycle. You're in that cycle. Either you accept to stay with that for the rest of your life, or you choose to break out of it. And to break out of it is not going to be easy, because the first thing is you have to stop compensating. Stop doing the thing that makes you feel better in the moment. And that frustration can help. And then start to see, what can I do that maybe I don't feel better in the short term, but will start to help me feel better in the medium and long term. Okay, so that's the theory for today. By miracle, I'm still doing this YouTube live, which I didn't expect I would have the airtime or energy to do, but I'm still doing it, and that's great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Give me a like. subscribe, share with your friends. Don't hesitate to send me a message. Let me know who you are, where you're at, what's going on, and if there's anything I can do to help. Just I won't be able to do huge work, but if you need some help and support, I'm open to doing some YouTube therapy sessions. So that's something that's also possible. So look after yourselves, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.